Hello, welcome to Papa Guru with your host Matthew Stoner. Today we're going to be discussing a Pauper Commander deck tech. We're going to be discussing Guttersnipe. Guttersnipe is a 2/2 for 1 red, 2 of anything. Guttersnipe says whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Guttersnipe deals 2 damage to each opponent. This deck cares a lot about its instant sorceries. And we're going to go through each type of instant sorcery. Everything from damage to pump up to removal. Like Guttersnipe said, only when you cast instant sorcery. It didn't say whenever you deal damage. So we're going to begin with Shower of Sparks. Deal 1 damage to target player and 1 damage to a creature that player controls. Fiery Impulse. Deal 2 damage to target creature, and if you have Spell Mastery, which is if you have 2 or more instant or sorceries in your graveyard, the damage becomes 3 instead of 2. Lightning Bolt, 2 mana, 3 damage to anything. Twin Bolt, 2 damage divided up however you wish. Magma Spray, deal 2 damage to a creature. If that creature dies, exile it. Barbed Lightning, 3 mana, choose 1, deal 3 damage to target creature, or deal 3 damage to target player. You may pay the intertwine cost for additional 2 mana to make it have both abilities. Reality Hemorrhage. For 2 mana, instant speed, deal 2 damage to target creature or player. Electrickery. Deal for 1 mana, deal 1 damage to target creature you don't control. For 1 and 1 red, deal 1 damage to each creature you don't control. Chandra's Fury. Deal 4 damage to target creature. My bad. 4 damage to target player and 1 damage to each creature that player controls. Dual Shot. Deal 1 damage up to 2 target creatures. Tarfire. Deal 2 damage to target creature or player. Epipherating Fire. Deal 3 damage to target creature or player, and if the creature was to die from this, exile instead. Incinerate, 2 mana, 3 damage to target creature or player. If the creature would die this turn, it cannot be regenerated. Chandra's Pyrohelix, deal 2 damage divided up however you wish. Pillar of Flames, deal 2 damage to target creature. If that creature was to die, exile instead. Direct Current, deal 2 damage to any target. You can jumpstart by discarding a card and paying its mana cost, and playing it, then exiling it. Volcanic Hammer, deal 3 damage to target creature or player for 2 mana. Boiling Earth, deal 1 damage to each creature you don't control. And it has Awaken 4 for a 6 colorless and 1 red. Awaken is an ability where you put whatever the number of Awaken is worth of counters onto one of your lands. It becomes a creature with power and times equal number 1/1 counters on it. Skewer the Critic. For 3 mana, deal 3 damage to any target. But Spectacle, for 1 red mana, if you dealt any damage, if your opponent has lost any life this turn, it becomes a 1 mana cost spell. 1 mana for 3 damage. I like that. Make Mischief, create a 1/1 red devil token that whenever it dies, it deals 1 damage to target creature or player. And whenever you cast Make Mischief, you deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Flame Jab. It's one of the repeatable spells in this deck. Flame Jab deals 1 damage to target creature or player. You can retrace it. When you play this card, you may discard a land card to return it to your hand. Wait, hold on. Let me make sure I'm reading that right. This card from your graveyard. You may play this card from your graveyard anytime by discarding a land card. I was reading it right. Was reading it correctly. I apologize. Scorching Sands. Deal 1 damage to each creature your opponents control for 2 mana. Then you scry 1. Barrage of Boulders, 3 mana, deal 1 damage to each creature you don't control. Ferocity, if you have a creature power 4 or greater, those creatures cannot block this turn. Flame Slash, deal 4 damage to target creature. Lava Axe, deal 5 damage to target player. Rift Bolt. For 3 mana, deal 3 damage to target creature or player. And it has to spend 1 for 1 red. If you suspend it, if you suspend it where you exile it for 1 turn, and it comes back out at your upkeep. Lava Dart. 1 damage to any target for 1 mana. You may sacrifice a mountain to flash it back. Spawning Breath. Deal 1 damage to target creature or player, and you create a 0/1 Eldrazi Scion you can sacrifice for mana. J is green. Deal 3 damage to target creature, and then scry 1. Shock. Deal 2 damage to target creature or player. Searing Spear. Deal 3 damage to target creature or player for 2 mana. Lightning Bolt. Probably one of the most powerful red burn spells in Magic. Deal 3 damage to anything because they updated Oracle text. Cackling Flame. Deal 3 damage for 4 mana, but it has Hellbent. If you have no cards in your hand, it deals 5 damage instead. And Scorch Mark. Deal 2 damage to target creature. And if that creature dies, exile it instead. That is all the burn spells in this. Now we're going to go on to the pump spells. Like Guttersnipe said, as long as it's an instant or sorcery, is all that matters. Borrowed Hostility. Target creature gets +3/+0. Or target creature gains first strike for 1 mana. And you can escalate it for 3, so you can get both. But it doesn't. Paying the escalate cost does not trigger Guttersnipe twice, just to let y'all know. Reckless Charge for 1 mana. Target creature gets +3/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. You can flashback it for 1 red and 2 of anything. Bull Rush. 1 mana. Target creature gets +2/+0 until end of turn. Brute Strength. Target creature gets +3/+3 until end of turn for 1 mana. Infuriate. Target creature gets +3/+2 until end of turn. Now we're going to go on to the draw spells of this deck. Thrill of Possibilities. As an additional card cost to discard this card for 2 mana, you discard a card to draw 2 cards. Tormenting Voice is the exact same card, just different name. Wild Guess. 2 red mana. Same thing, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Honor the God Pharaoh. 3 mana, creates you a 1/1. As additional cost, discard a card from your hand, just like the rest of them. Draw 2 cards and then amass 1. Amass makes you a 1/1 zombie token you can use as a chump blocker, or get that extra 1 point of damage, if needed. Now, Fury Charm. It has a few different modes for 2 mana. Destroy target artifact. Target creature gets +1/+1 trample on a turn. Or move 2 time counters from permanents or suspended cards. All these modes actually can really help with this deck, because there is a suspend card in this deck. There are times you want to give creatures trample, and there are times you just want to blow up artifacts. Satyr's Cunning. For 1 mana, you create a 1/1 Satyr that cannot block. But this card is repeatable in this deck. For 3 mana, and you can exile 2 cards from your hand to play this from your graveyard again, to create another Satyr, which will trigger Guttersnipe all over again. And the last card of this deck. Oh, wait, that was the last instant sorcery. Okay. Now we're going on to the creatures of the deck that run it. Rummaging Goblin. Tap, discard a card, draw a card. Mad Prophet. Haste, discard a card and draw a card. Oracle Oread of Mountain's Blaze. Pay 3, discard a card, draw a card. Those are all Rummish abilities that allow you to filter through your deck. Now on to more intense creatures that deal with more casting instant sorceries and dealing more damage. Soulblight Flamekin. Pay 2 mana. You're able to give target creature trample. If you pay this ability 3 times in 1 turn, you get 8 red mana. ramp in red. It's hard to find, so it works. Lobber Crew, tap it, deal 1 damage to each opponent. If you cast a multicolor spell, but there is none in this deck, it doesn't tap. But it is a 0/4 for 3. Firebrand Archer. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, each opponent takes 1 damage from her. Spear Spewer. Tap it, each player loses 1 life. Thermal Alchemist. Whenever you can tap it to deal 1 damage to each opponent. Whenever you cast an instant sorcery spell, you get to untap him. On average, you're getting his effect 3, 4, 5 times in a turn. Skilling Sinks. Whenever it attacks, you scry 1. Bushido Pyromancer. Whenever it's battlefield, you do 2 damage to target creature, to target player or planeswalker. Burning Prophet. Whenever you cast on creature spell, Burning Prophet gets +1/+0 on a turn, and you scry 1. Intimidator. Whenever you cast a red spell, you may pay 1. If you do so, target creature cannot block this turn. Dragon's Mantle. For 1 red mana, enchant a creature. Whenever you play this card, you draw a card, and enchant a creature has fire breathing. Now on to the only mana dork, well, one of the 2 mana dorks. The only red mana dork in this. Sister of the Flame. 3 mana, 2/2 taps for 1 red mana. Now on to the artifacts of the deck. Iron Mirror, taps for red mana. Prying Blade, enchanted creature has +1/+0 and deals combat damage. You create a treasure you can tap and sacrifice for mana. Traveler's Amulet, Wanderer's Twig, and Renegade's Map all does the same thing. They all pay 1, sacrifice, search your deck for a basic land, reveal it, and put it in your hand. The only difference is Renegade Map enters the battlefield tapped. Alchemist Vial, 2 mana, draw a card, pay 1, tap and sacrifice, target creature cannot attack or block this turn. And the last artifact, Iron Star. You may pay 1 every time you cast a red spell to gain 1 life. Now, there's only 2 enchantments in this deck. Seal of Fire, sacrifice, deal 2 damage to target creature or player. And Curse of the Pierced Heart, enchantment or a curse, enchant a player. At the beginning of that player's upkeep, that player takes 1 damage. So through 5, 6, 7 turns, that's well paid off usually before someone deals with it. Now on to the mana base. It is quite simple. 31 mountains and 1 scorched desert, which it's a colorless land that whenever it enters the battlefield, it does 1 damage to target opponent. Thank you, like, share, and subscribe. And everyone be safe out there.